Hey there everyone, this is Mystic Fish and welcome to episode 1 of a new Factorio series. And this one I am calling the Expando base. So what is this going to be? Well, I just finished up my last series on building a cellular megabase. And I thought it'd be interesting to see if I could actually scale an original base all the way up to 1350 science per minute. That's a half of a blue belt of each of the sciences by primarily building the base, a single base, and then upgrading it in place over time. And so that is going to be the design. I think the approach that I'm going to take here is that we will do a lot of the design work up front and produce a series of blueprints that we'll use. And once we've got those all assembled, then we will take a playthrough and see if we can actually get this thing built. So I am right now on just a default settings map with no biters. Just for funsies. We're going to be making use of a couple of mods here as we go, which I will highlight as we do them. But I think what we'll do in each episode is we'll have a particular focus. The focus for today is going to be on laying out a grid system, what Nilaus and others call city blocks, for example, or as an example of this. I'm going to build something similar, although they're going to be a little different. But we'll just get that set up, and we can take it from there. So let's here. I'm going to use this mod. It's called the Blueprint Designer Lab. And so when I click this button, I end up in this extra dimensional space here. I have some leftover stuff in there, so we'll get rid of that. But this extra dimensional space, we have access to a bunch of recipes, although it seems like we're missing some recipes. So I think I need to turn on the cheat mode. Yeah, there we go. That way we get access to all of the recipes. Okay, so how do we decide how big a grid should be? So what a lot of people do, and I'm sort of a fan of this, is to say, let's get a 100 by 100 tile grid, because this orange area here in the logistics network of these 4 roboports is exactly 100 by 100 tiles, right? Each roboport is 50 by 50 logistics area. And so that makes for, a convenient grid size, because that means that if we lay these down, then the roboports can connect to one another pretty easily. So that is what we want to do there. The next thing that we should work out is then how do we lay things out? Now, I like to put the big electric poles around the outside. That allows for just, electricity being conducted everywhere we need it to be. But before we do that, we need a way to measure what we're doing here. So I like to use stone furnaces to measure this. So those of you who saw my megabase base camp episode saw me do a lot of this with ghosts. That was before I was using the Blueprint Designer Lab. So that's 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. So this string of stone furnaces is 100 tiles wide. Then what we want is, I actually want to offset it a little bit. So I want the electric poles to straddle the border of the cells. That way they can overlap with one another, right? So we're going to have one there. We're going to have one over at this end. And then let's see if we can get one in the middle. So there's 50 of these, right? So if we count over 25, then the middle is right between these two guys. So the middle is like even with this guy. So we can put one of these there. All right, that means we don't need these anymore. And we have 25 of these, which means the middle one is number 13, which is this guy. And so if we put one in here, all right, that actually reaches all the way across. And so that adds some nice symmetry. I do like to connect red and green wires along the outside of the grid here so that we can get a global information network going for the circuit network. And so we can get this, and that gives us one side. Then we can rotate it, line it up. That gets us the other side. Rotate it, line it up, then rotate it and line it up. Okay, so this is going to be our basic grid blueprint. So let's just take a blueprint of this. We'll just call this grid. Now we're going to do snap to grid. This is one of the main advantages of using a grid system, is that it means that when we do things like make rails and things of that sort, because we do snap to grid, it's very easy to get things to align in the way that we want them to. Now we want our grid to be 100 by 100, as we said, but I need to offset the X and Y coordinates so that you can see the corner of the grid here, this green dotted line, is right in the middle of the corner power poles. And we're going to leave it absolute, but we're not going to do any offsets. And so that you can see it's actually offset a little bit because we didn't build it in the original one was not in the right space. And I just failed to make the blueprints. Let's try that again. Because I didn't save blueprint. Okay, so grid. I guess we can do something like this to represent the four corners. This is going to be 100 and 100 and 1 and 1. And then we're going to create blueprint and we're going to save it right there. Okay, great. Now we can get rid of this guy, which is good. So we'll get rid of this. Now we can stamp this down and it should be grid aligned. In fact, you can see it hits this area up here. But we'll plunk this one down here. Now, the thing to check with this alignment is where the rails are going to end up. Because we are going to want rails in here. And in order to get the grids to connect to one another properly, we want the edge of the rail to line up with the edge of the grid, which this one does. So this is lining up correctly here so that the edge of this rail lines up with the center of this a large power pole. And so that will align correctly. And then we need to check down here on this side as well that the same thing is true. So that also lines up with the edge. Although this one I think needs to be there. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah. I mean, because of it doesn't look like it's in the center, but it totally is. Okay, so these are lining up right, so that is good. Let's see. Okay, that's our first thing. So now let's start adding some stuff to it. We want to line up roboports, as we said there. I think. No, we need to go even with the middle, right down the middle of all the electric poles. And there, okay. We should power these by default. So let's put just on the corners, like that. Let's actually... We've got some power there to see that it's all powered, so that's good stuff. Okay, next, we should get some lights because those are fun to have. Now, I think I want to do things this way so that when we stamp down the other side, we get completely surrounded by the lights like that. So let's do those. And then do the same thing here, but we don't need the ones that are outside the cell. So those two. And we don't need these two. All right, then we can grab this and rotate and rotate and rotate. All right, we are going to want radar in this business, so we could do that. That squeezes right in between those lights. And then the last thing to put in is going to be, let's get some stone path here. Now, when Nilaus does his city blocks, he has the grid boundary straddle the stone path, but I think we get a little more space per cell if we actually stick it against the side here like this. And so we can do the side and we can do the top like this. And we need some more bricks. All right. Right like that. Okay, and that is going to be our basic, I think our basic grid. So let's take a few related blueprints here. So let's grab this one. This is going to be, yes. This is, well, I guess we'll say this is the full grid, right? With lights and radar and everything. And a radar. All right, so we'll just call this full grid. Okay. Oh, we need to align this guy. Okay, that lines up. Good stuff. Then we maybe want a version. I guess we always want this stuff. Maybe a version without roboports. Let's just take the roboports off. Grid without roboports. So this is electric poles and lights and radar. Oh, and we can get rid of these as well. Snap to grid. 100, 100, 1 and 1. Create blueprint. All right, then we can grab this. And we can say stone path. And so for this, we'll just put the stone path. We'll snap to grid. 100, 100. 1 and 1, but we'll include the tiles. That gives us the stone bricks. So let's create this. But now we can get rid of everything except the tiles. Okay, and then that just puts it there. Right, and we can see that those, they actually connect correctly. Okay, good, and that's just the path. So, good stuff. We're moving along here. Let's, we can probably get these out of the way. Okay, next, we might as well, as part of our first example of expanding stuff, let's assume that we're going to upgrade the path to concrete at some point. So if we look, you can see stone bricks. If you walk on a stone path, your walking speed is 130%. So you go 30% faster. We can upgrade that to 140 with concrete, and if we do the reinforced concrete or the refined concrete, it's 150. So we can rock around faster, and I think this will be one of the, when we get to that point, we will upgrade the paths in the base. So in order to do that, let's grab some concrete, and we will just slide this over top. And because concrete comes with hazard concrete, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the minus key on my numeric keyboard to shrink my tile size down to 1 so that I can put some hazard stuff down the outside. Like so. All right, then we grab a blueprint like this. We include the tiles. We snap to grid. This is going to be concrete and refine hazard concrete. These will be 100 and 100, 1 and 1. We're going to create the blueprint, put it there, and then we're going to take off everything that is not concrete. Okay, there is the, oh, I didn't name it. Okay, this is the concrete path. Save. And then the last upgrade we want to do is with the refined concrete and the refined hazard concrete. And so now I'm using the keypad plus sign to get back up to the 4x4 size. Bring these across here and down. Then we get the refined hazard concrete, shrink our tile size down. Okay. Whoops, ran out of it. And there we go. Last blueprint. This is going to be refined concrete path. Snap to grid. 100, 100, 1 and 1. Include the tiles. Create the blueprint. Then take out everything that's not. Oh, I have one hazard concrete somewhere. I missed one. Oh, that's a good question. Where am I missing it? Refined hazard concrete. It's not in there. It's probably in one of these corners here somewhere. There it was. Got it. All right. This is the refined concrete path, but it was wrong. So we'll grab this. Refined concrete path. Get the refined guys. Snap to grid. 100, 100, 1 and 1. Include the tiles. Create the blueprint. Then take off anything that's not concrete. Okay, so I've started a new blueprint book here for the Expando base. I've got a book here for the grid, so let's go ahead and put some of these things in here. That's the full grid, so I think we'll probably use that most often out of here. Grid without roboports, and then the paths. We'll put there. Okay, so now we're going to return out of here. Now, the last thing I want to do is I want to make a grid square that has landfill in it. And for this, I'm going to use the editor. And I've installed also the mod called Editor Extensions, and that will help us do some work here. What I'm going to do, what I've done is, let's see here, I guess I can do this, delete this surface so we can see how to do this. So I'm going to make a new surface. I'll make it 1,000 tiles by 1,000 tiles. I'm going to call this lab terrain. Yes, and then I'm going to switch to that. Okay, and then I'm going to say fill everything, or let's see, remove all entities and fill it with lab tiles. Okay, then we're going to get our grid blueprint in here. And now what we want to do is we want to paint this with landfill. And so for that, we go to tiles. Here's the landfill tile. We're going to get a brush shape, 4x4. I think that's what we want. Yeah, okay. So then we want just under the corner of this electric pole. And then we're going to scooch over this way with landfill until we're just under the corner of that one. And then we'll come down until we are just over the corner there. And we'll go just overlapping and up to there. Then we can increase the size of this guy and we can just put landfill all through the middle here. Ooh, I almost went off the side. I suppose I could paint even bigger, but I feel like I've got good enough control with this size here. Because I don't want to go off the edge, because then I have to figure out how to erase the landfill. All right, so that is a grid with landfill. So that means we can say none, and then we can take a blueprint. And this will be a grid with landfill. Grid with landfill. And this will be snap to grid, 100, 100, 1, and 1, and we'll include the tiles. Okay, so that's a good one. And then I think the last thing that I will do is I will also take this full grid here, which actually I need these to not be in here yet. Okay, what I want to do is for some of these, like this full grid one, some of these can get auto landfilled under them. Like I think what I'll do is I'm going to take this blueprint here for the basic grid, and this is another mod I have installed, which is landfill everywhere, or landfill everything. I forget which one it is. But if I, here, let's take a look. If I look at this, right, it just has the electric poles in it. So I pick this up, I click it on the landfill, and then if we look at it, now we've got, well, landfill under here, right? So it puts landfill under everything. And so this way we could put down landfill just exactly where the power poles are. So that seems good. We can also do it for the full grid. And the one without roboports. And that should be it. Anything else, that's really just for covering our way through places that maybe we're not going to build a main base, but and don't want to landfill in the whole thing, but we still want some of the grid infrastructure in there. So that will let us do that. Okay, so now we can go ahead and populate our stuff in here. I guess we just said full grid is going to go first. grid without roboports, landfill grid, and then we've got our paths. Okay, so that's going to be our grid system. So that's good stuff. Let's go back to Novice, and we can get out of the editor here. Okay, although I think is it Control-Alt-E? Yeah, Control-Alt-E. Takes me in and out of there, so that's good. Okay, so if we want to see how this lines up, we can see, for example, that this grid goes through the middle of the starting lake. Or another way of saying it is that the starting lake may span multiple grids, grid squares. And I suppose the worst case is if one of the corners of the grid lands in the middle of the lake, then the lake will span 4 adjacent grid tiles, which I think is going to be, that's a possibility. So I think we'll plan for that in our overall base layout as we go, but it's just going to be something that's good for us to think about. And so as you could see, if we wanted to, we could plunk a landfill down there in the middle of the lake and then build our electric pole on top of it. I think the starter lake we will probably, even though we probably won't landfill in the middle for the power poles, because I think we're going to need to put a bunch of water pumps in here in order to get access to the stuff that we're going to need. But we'll leave that as a problem for future Mystic Fish. So this episode, we got our basic grid system in place, which is good stuff. And we'll call the episode there. And next episode, I think what we can do is we can get started with some of the initial bootstrapping stuff that we're going to need in the base. And so stay tuned for that. But that's all we have for now. So as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Until then, bye.